All right, I want to welcome all of the parents to the Parent Leadership Team meeting for November. I appreciate you all making the trip out here today to Ugali High School. We've changed up the program a little bit. We're going to be touring the CTE programs here. It's very exciting. I cannot wait for you guys to do that. Before we begin, I just wanted to introduce you to the principal of Ugali High School, Mr. Keith Barton. When he's not being a black belt in jiu-jitsu, he likes long walks on the beach.
I do like long walks on the beach, but the jiu-jitsu is not me. So, I'd like to welcome y'all to Ugali High School. I'm excited to have y'all here. I'm a lifelong resident of Brevard County, born and raised. So getting back to the community has been something I've done since I graduated from college in 1995. So having y'all here, having people in the community that care about our students and our schools, it is very important, and it makes me happy to see all of y'all here today. Our CTE programs at Ugali, throughout the district, I think, are second to none, but at Ugali we have some exciting programs where our students, you'll learn later that our students, get hands-on experience working on aircrafts, working on boat motors, working on automobiles, and are able to get entry-level jobs, making some decent money coming out of Ugali High School. It's something that we're very proud of our instructors, and excited to have y'all here. So welcome. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are going to be on a little bit of a tight schedule today to accommodate the school and the classroom schedule, so we will be doing the tour right at 10:15 this morning. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Rachel Rutledge. She is the director of all the career and technical education programs for Brevard Public Schools, and she's going to talk a little bit more about today. There you go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are so excited you are here, and you're really in for a treat today. You're getting a behind-the-scenes look at some of our coolest CTE programs in the district. So I spoke with you last Parent Leadership Team meeting and shared with you just a little bit about our CTE programs throughout the district. Anna, can you set me up here? Thank you. And wanted you to understand the impact of CTE and what exactly is happening here in Brevard Public Schools impact. But since some of you are elementary and some middle, it may have been a little bit over the top with career pathways. So I wanted to provide and paint some relevance for you about what this might look like for kids. We don't expect our 8, 9, 10-year-olds to figure out what they want to do for a living, right? We're just trying to get them to learn some professional skills, to go to school, be interested in what they're learning. We don't expect them to have their careers squared away. So y'all may be admiring my nice little automotive shirt here today. My Ugali Automotive folks put my name on it, so I have to represent when I come to visit the Commodores. Did you find it?
I have it. I'm having some tech issues right now. I have it right
There we go.
here.
We're here. Thank you.
There we go.
Yep, we're good. All right. So, as you know, last time I shared with you that we have 42 unique CTE programs in the district. I handed out a little flyer for you. Having issues today. Handed out a little flyer for you when we were at that last meeting that showed you all the different things that students could learn about while they're in career and technical education in our high schools. It's not moving, Anna, just to let you know. That's okay, I can roll with it. I wanted to share with you just a little bit about that whole career pathways concept. So we're going to take a look at aviation today, automotive perhaps, and outboard marine, but students have career pathways in every area like healthcare. If you have students, if you have kids that are good with people and are empathetic, that could be a good career path for them. We have education options in teaching and education as a whole. Did you know that 4 of our high schools have VPK programs on them? And the high school students are working with the littles, is what we call them, the 4-year-olds. They come on campus, they're so cute, oh my goodness. And the kids, our high school students, are absolutely loving it because they're learning what it might look like to be a teacher. provide relevance to students and point them in specific directions. We have a new firefighting program as well. Not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's down at Palm Bay. And students, once they turn 18, can go on the Eastern Florida campus and do their live burn. So they can be a volunteer firefighter right when they graduate. And then they'll go to Eastern Florida. So the point I want to make with that is that most of our students have an interest in pursuing college. It just looks different for everybody, right? It might be that they want to do a certificate program when they graduate or go towards an associate's or a bachelor's degree. The idea is that none of our kids are going to stop learning when they graduate. We are trying to put that in their minds, that you're not just going to go to work and you're done. You've made it. You've got to continue to learn and grow as you go through your career. All right. So one of our career pathways I wanted to just share with you. Perhaps in elementary, the kids could be learning about Microsoft Word. And this can be integrated into every one of their content areas. The student could be in their science class and they have to type up a report. They're learning about skills related to technology. So that's something that they can do in elementary. At middle school, they could have a tech ed course. Technology education courses are at, I'd say, probably 80% of our middle schools right now. Kids do wind turbines, CO2 dragsters, rockets. They have the coolest projects. They're working on small tools. So there's a lot of safety training that's involved in it as well. But for kids that are hands-on, which I think most of our kids are, right? They want to get their hands dirty a little bit and try something new, not just sit and take notes. That could lead them into a high school program, such as technical design. Students in that program earn AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor. You've probably heard of those. At no cost to them, they're learning that in their high school program. Or it might point them towards an aviation program like we're going to see today. So the idea is that at the elementary level, they're learning some fundamental skills. At the middle school, they're starting to get their hands in it and see what's really, what they really enjoy doing. And then at high school, they can start to specialize. Maybe they figured it out. If you are a high school parent representative here today, I want you to understand not every kid has it figured out, okay? So CTE is also an opportunity for them to explore and figure out what they're good at and how they're going to, what their next step is going to be when they graduate. Another example, once again, they can do some digital tool in Word or Microsoft itself. They're applying some basic technology skills. From there, they might go into a high school credit course at middle school. All of our middle schools have high school credit courses in career technical education. Did you know that? So they're already a step ahead when they get to high school through that accelerated option. They can earn an industry credential in entrepreneurship. Some of our students in middle school are now doing sublimation printing. They are having a ball. They're making mouse pads, pins, t-shirts. Just, once again, getting their hands in the content and figuring out what it might look like to have a business. And then from there, they might go into a business program, marketing, they might go into finance. There's a lot of different ways that they can go with that skill. All right. All of these pictures up here, by the way, are our students in BPS. These students right here are a part of the Health and Wellness Academy at Heritage High School. And what does it mean to be a part of a CTE program or academy? They take a series of courses in a specific content area. So for this one, they take anatomy and physiology, health science foundations, and then exercise science. They actually have an exercise science academy here on O'Galley's campus as well. And when you walk into it, it looks like a gym. The students are learning some skills related to physical therapy, athletic training, and they love it. Just the health and wellness concept. That's one of the pathways that our students can pursue in CTE. So the students can take 3 classes, and they earn an industry credential, and that meets a rigorous graduation requirement for Brevard Public Schools. Just like AP, or IB, or Cambridge, CTE also has a rigorous component to it. So, I think back 2 years ago where there was this term vocational education. It had kind of a negative connotation to it. Does that ring a bell to y'all? It's not that VOTech anymore. It is high tech. career and technical education. And our classes are challenging. These students are really in rigorous curriculum, and they're earning certifications in areas that are going to really serve them when they graduate through high skill, high wage career pathways. So I mentioned that to you. So it's not that those kids aren't going to college. It's, yeah, they probably are going to college, but now they have an idea of why they're going to college, okay? So here's a little bit about this alignment to create some relevance for you. In our engineering programs, students earn SolidWorks. You may have heard of that. Digital design, they earn Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and more. Culinary, they earn CertSafe. Our industry partners are thrilled that they have CertSafe already with them, not going to pay for it. Students don't pay for it, the business partners don't have to provide it for them. In technical design, they do AutoCAD. Maritime, do you ever have a maritime program? They work really closely with the Propeller Club at the port, heavily involved advisory group. And they're going to be earning their certified logistics technician for the first time this year, so we're super excited about that. Did you also know that CTE provides opportunities for bright futures? You may not have been aware of that. You may have just heard of the academic options, but there are 2 CTE options to earn bright future scholarships for students. One of them is through attainment of industry certifications that equate to 5 secondary credits. What does that mean?
Yeah, what is that?
That's too much. Too much information. Let's say they earn an Adobe Photoshop Illustrator and they earn CertSafe. They qualify. Check. Done. Pretty cool. The other one is
One more time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they have to have, for the Gold Seal CAPE
Yeah.
Scholars Award, they have to have a minimum of 5 post-secondary credits. So what does that look like in practice? That might not be too familiar for you. They can have an Adobe bundle, and they can have CertSafe. That counts. There you go. That's the only requirement, except for the volunteer work for that specific goal, for that specific Bright Future scholarship. It's pretty exciting. And the other one has to do with 3 credits in a single program, plus the other requirements here that you see with GPA and such. You'll have access to this presentation when we're done, but we're really proud of the opportunities for students through career and technical education because everybody's on a different path.
Is this new or just
No.
being well explained now?
Well, thank you. I don't know how well explained it was. No, it's not new, but it's under-communicated.
Okay.
We said.
Okay.
Yeah, because every kid,
That's a good way of putting it.
yeah, every kid has a different pathway.
Okay.
And this is a pathway on to post-secondary experience for students in a specific career technical education program. It's pretty neat. So, we are going to be heading to the tour in just a minute. Is that right? We got a couple minutes. But I asked this question to you at the last meeting, but we kind of ran out of time a little bit. What ideas, for those of you that are elementary representatives, what ideas do you have to share with families about these opportunities for our students? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a CTE graduate myself. My son's currently in CTE, and I've got an elementary student now. So my son is here in aviation in Cambridge. And I can say, having lived through all of that myself, and now having my children involved in that, at least one of the 2, I think what was key in informing, for me, for the aviation program, was this right here. So PLT was very important. You speaking at frequently as possible. I think it adds value to repeat what you just said over and over and over again. I think where we lack a good, solid, or we have a gap in communication is at the middle schools. And communicating at the middle schools, the opportunities at the secondary level, the next step, and certainly at the elementary level of knowing what's available in middle. And it's not enough to say, here's the flyer, go check out Johnson's Cambridge program. It'd be great to have Cambridge come to the elementary, a representative, even if it's one of the students with one of the teachers, and explain the experience. It's important for the child to see how they'll benefit, not just the parent.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. So let's talk about the child in just a minute. Let's talk about the parent. I deal mostly in the secondary world, okay? Because that's what career and technical education is mostly. But, thinking about you as representative of elementary PLC, how can we reach other families at the specific elementary school? What ideas do y'all have for that?
Let me bring the microphone.
Oh, I don't know if I need a microphone.
For the recording.
Sure.
What I was thinking was, as you were talking, I was thinking, like, a lot of times the kids can't, if it's too much information at one time, even like with your beautiful flowchart, having been a teacher, I think it's more if you make it big bites of information. So, whether you're talking to the kids and or the parents, at an elementary school, maybe you do like a couple of fairs, or like, hey, we'll spend some of the money you have in our top one budget, which not everybody's top one, but you spend the money to offer them free food. They always come for free food. I'm just saying. And it's true. It's really true. And it just has to be pizza. And so you offer them food when they come, and then you say, these are the big pictures. So kids, if you think playing with boats would be cool because you like this, kids, if you think playing with airplanes, if you think you like video games, like if you make it, I know this sounds really jarring, but if you make it like dumb, stupid work, like what if you knew nothing, this is what you could do. And then that makes them go, oh, I'm going to do that. And then you break it down more where they say, I'm going to do boats. Well, then these are the different ways you could get there. These are the different schools you can go to. If you are only going to be able to go to this middle school because mom can't take you to another middle school, this is what this middle school offers that will propel you further. And if you have to be the older kids, because obviously the kindergarten doesn't care, they just like want to know where their free food is. But, it's true. And so, that's what I was thinking just now, like at Boy Island where I'm from, that's what I would do. Off the top of my head, it would probably be edited many times like this, just because that's how it works.
Okay. You had a comment?
Well, free burritos.
That's like a free read.
That's how you got me.
Okay.
So, you could possibly do something like the Boy Scouts of America. They go to each school and during the day, they have a presentation where a certain age group comes to that lunchroom or whatever to learn about that program. Or you could reach out to the schools, the elementary schools, to see when they're having, because holidays are coming up, we call it a holiday festival at night. You can have arts and crafts and all that stuff. You could have a table, bring miniature airplanes or miniature boats and make it tangible so that everybody could come by and see what is available, and then they can say, oh, like you said, I like boats. Well, here's a flyer of the pathway from elementary to post-secondary.
And all the things you can do with that, like it's not just.
Right.
And even not giving them boats, but like giving them the opportunity to build boats.
Yeah.
Here's some toothpicks, Marshall.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, any event that they can turn into STEM now, and all your programs are STEM, so if the different students in the different programs came up with like little presentations, like, we used to do a lot of assemblies in schools where they would bring in somebody and they would talk to the kids for an hour. They don't do those much anymore, but that would be a great assembly for the sixth graders to have like 3 or 4 of the different CEs come in and just tell the kids what they do. I'm sure it'd be really interesting what they do. And it's good for the kids because they love high school kids. But even also like coming to you would be a good guest speaker for PTO meetings. We've been thinking about how to get more people engaged in meetings and having important information. Like someone coming and presenting to like a group of parents is really useful.
Thank you everyone for your feedback.
Ms. Rutledge, can I ask everybody a question real quick? You guys, if a mail goes home, if a piece of mail goes home and it says the Bar Public Schools on it, pretty much everybody in here answers that, right? Opens it up, looks at it. One of the issues we have is that when we email the parents when we do all that stuff, the click rates aren't as high as we want to do. Right now, I've started a very strong campaign of sending letters home to parents specifically to different programs with a QR code with an informational thing, and that QR code's getting hit a lot. So that's one thing that I think we could notify you all of is a letter home to do that. And the other thing is that we were talking about doing online tours. So one thing we could do is send a letter home saying there'll be an online tour at 5 o'clock at the facility, and then you as a parent would be able to go online. Because one of the problems we have, to be honest with you, is we only have Miss Rutledge, we only have a couple of the kids, and it becomes a situation where we can't get to every single place. So, sorry, Ms. Rutledge, to kind of cut in there, but I wanted to make sure that was kind of an acceptable thing, and I think we want to move on doing that. That's all.
I'm here real quick.
Sorry,
No, thank you, Mr.
I'm coming.
So I think an effective way would be to start at the top of chain command. So that would be possibly contacting the principal and the assistant principal as a representative, and potentially coming up with a flyer, and then incorporating some volunteering into the flyer with the approval, and then disseminating that information to the teachers who can then give it out to the students, and then go to the households.
See if there's something you can take off their plates so they have room to partner with you on this. You know, like I always say, is there something that we're doing that can be left out? You know, because none of us can add something onto it. So maybe there's something that your parent leaders in that school have on their plate that you can take off for them. And it could be something really simple. I mean, and it could be different for every school. So there's no simple answer, I would say.
Okay, let's do one more in the back, and then I think we need to head out.
We got a minute.
And we're gonna have time when we come
Yes,
back
we'll
for
have
more
more time to
questions.
do that.
Everyone's had great ideas. I come from a small private school, so this just blows my mind that it's available. Anyway, do the guidance counselors in all the elementary schools know about this? Because that's who I would target.
I just met our district person with that, and I'm getting on the agenda soon to talk with our elementary counselors. Yeah, I have a real standing appointment with our secondary kids.
Awesome. This is a great program.
Thank you, and I appreciate all of your ideas and can't wait to hear more as we're walking and talking.
She had her hand up.
Oh, we have one more? Okay.
We're good.
First off, I want to say thank you. This is incredible. Coming from a different state, we experienced it, and then moving to Florida, this option's readily available to our students. Absolutely love it. A huge thing, I'm from Choctaw Elementary. Our PTO is very involved with the school, and I agree with the gentleman over there. If you get the principal involved, I know Dr. Marshall on our behalf, and she needs help with, we're right there to give her a hand. And she would trickle it down to us. We're huge with social media for our community, Choctaw Elementary community, and we would be able to get all that information out to the parents, and social media is a big thing.
Wonderful. So you mentioned social media. If you're not yet following Brevard Public Schools for your technical education, please do. We post 2 times a week with different things happening. So we're going to go ahead and head out. But what I want you to understand is O'Galley is amazing, but you can see this at every one of our conferences and high schools. In addition, it's a little different. It's a different player, but every one of our high schools has something like this for your kids.
All right, everybody get ready for the tour, please.
I do. For those of you who showed up late, I do apologize. There were some people who did not get my email about the site change. During the break or at the end of the meeting, please go up to the front of the auditorium. I'd like to get everybody's emails just to make sure that you guys all have all of this information. I'll send out the presentation. We're going to send out a video link too if you did miss the tour. Okay? We are also going to have Mr. Matt Susan speak in just a moment as soon as he gets back.
I can answer questions for a couple minutes if we
Sure.
want in the
Why
meantime.
don't we do that?
Okay.
Here we go.
All right, so I'll be glad to answer any questions. What do you think?
Can I take that one down?
Susan's talking, I'm putting the welcome thing up, but then in the meantime, I'm gonna have this ready to go, just so it's,
is that we always need
so it's just easy to
teachers,
switch.
especially in these skilled trades programs. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult to find because there's not a traditional teacher test that they can take. They have to come with occupational experience. And so if you know anybody retiring, you know, our firefighting instructor is,
I'm just gonna hit my button and switch the channels.
2 years old and retired.
And then this
And
clicker
he's
told me where to use
actually
it.
And we
what you didn't see is some of our high-tech programs that are not skilled trades. We also have a digital media program where the kids do TV production. We also have early childhood education. We have health and wellness here on this campus. Technical design and drafting and automotive are just on this campus. So what you saw today, even though those two are unique programs in the district, you can walk into another one of our public high schools and see some other really cool CTE programs. So I just want you to be aware of that. And really quickly, as I'm handing this over to Mr. Susan, if your kid wanted to choice to one of these programs, they're able to do that. We have a full-time or a part-time option. But if transportation could be a concern and your child is interested in, say, construction, but construction is not at the school, chances are there's automotive. So that's still that hands-on experience that the kid is really hungry for. Well, they'll have something that they can do if they're done in school. So just wanted to share that with you. So, Mr. Susan, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Guys, listen, Ms. Rutledge is an amazing individual. Why not? You guys she is that. I run into flyers that come in and say, you know, Orange County, we're going to have a CTE program development today and all this stuff, and featured by Ms. Rutledge. And she's in those counties leading stuff. She's with Space Florida all the time. I mean, it's incredible what she does. And that's part of the reason I was talking about having you going around to all the schools may be a little bit difficult because of your schedule and stuff like that. But what I wanted to do is tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being part of APS. One of the issues that we're dealing with inside of these schools is the communication to the parents and then the transportation for those students. Many of the students that you see here today come from housing or home life that may not be affordable for them to be able to transport, right? They may not be able to get the ride that they need to. So what we're trying to do is figure out to go back to some sort of a busing system to go to some of the schools. The other thing that we're trying to do right now, just so you know, is put together a enterprise zone, which means these kids would be able to finish the day at school and then go to work for their own businesses inside the facilities that we have. Right? So that's what took me some time to get here. I was walking through it with them. They could form their own LLCs. They could have their own businesses or a business that the school has. They could come in, folks could come in, they could work on it, and it would work outside of the school district. We have issues to do during school. They can go intern somewhere else, but they would be able to do that. That's a huge deal. And yeah, it's huge because if they're making money, those kids come out of nowhere. I mean, they will come. The other thing we did was about 3 years ago, we brought on-the-job training back. So these students can go from here and go to work at a location in the afternoon, and it's actually job credits and stuff like that, and they can actually receive pay for them too. But I wanted to tell you, it is an award to get programs that you see here. I got a call that we had 7 years ago. I got a call that we had a guy from Alabama who was good, and he's going to turn all these great things. And he came here, and I was so inspired by him as you were. But we had him jammed into a locker room over here. It was a football field. And at the time, the superintendent told me, no, we're not going to do anything. He's just going to have to be inside. So I threw a Hail Mary and I got Senator Mayfield to allocate money so that we would be able to build what is now that hand. And the only reason that's there is because Senator Mayfield was able to push that. So we run into those technical barriers because we would love to put 3 of these throughout the county. It costs $1 million a piece, but you see the amount of time that comes out of that, kids that are getting jobs. And it's aligned with our programs inside the county. So like one of the things that we have to do is listen to what our employers are, create programs that are developed to run through the streamline process, if that makes sense. So we have some programs like, where is our veterinarian program? Where are all those? Well, the issue is that Eastern Florida State has those, so we can enroll to those. Does that make sense to everybody? But I appreciate you guys being here and answering the questions this entire thing that you saw with the aerospace is because of Bill Gates and Rachel Brothers, right? Their struggles, I mean, Bill Gates comes back with $23,000 donations every year. So, but any questions, you guys? Go ahead.
Whatever Dr. Mike.
In regards to looking into areas who, like, locally would love to have in place not the school, do they also contribute?
Say that again.
The companies that are local who want kids to graduate or to come to them to work, are they contributing? Are they adding funds for these $1 million construction?
I'll tell you a funny story. So on the other side of my life, I do private business and everything like that. Embraer was advertising like crazy about how they had been a big part of our school district and a big part of this program, right? And what happened is I knew the CFO, and I was at a thing down in Miami that they were putting on, and they had pictures of how much they're doing for a gallon. I called Bill, I was like, Bill, is Embraer doing anything? They're like, no, they came in here and took a bunch of pictures, and then now they're saying all that. Now, today is different. They are involved, they're doing stuff, they're involved. The problem that we have is this. Many employers in Blard, you have your major primes and you have your subprimes. Your subprimes are the companies that have maybe 15 to 50 workers that are working, right? And they do the smaller contracts for the large firms. So you have like a Lockheed Martin, and then you have ABC and all the other ones. The problem is that we have 580 of those subprimes here in the county, and it's difficult for them to donate and support, but they're willing to take the kids. So that dance that you just talked about, getting the primes to donate to our industry council, Ms. Rutledge has done a great job of bringing all of them in. The subprimes don't have enough time to actually donate their time to come get the kids or to be a part of this, and that's where we struggle. And I think that's a good point to make, and where we could do a better job in improving. And that's on me, to tell you the truth, because Ms. Rutledge's job is to make sure that the community steps up.
Because to take all the pressure off of that one amazing person, to take it off of him. If we want this cycle in the community, I think there's an opportunity there for those companies to come in and say, hey, if you donate this, your top students will be guaranteed a spot here if they reach these goals.
In Lockheed Martin, we were out with Lockheed Martin, they're trying to grab their industry to say, who in our industry can we have? So they've identified people that are going to come in and support a bill, right? So that they're not as strong as Bill, they have the support, but we're trying to work with industry to do it, because there's so many in the title, right? I'm like, why aren't they in here? Like, that's part of it. But Ms. Rutledge, you're going to say
Yeah, I was
something.
just going to say, we have a good example of a community school partnership at Cocoa High School in their construction program. Hendrick Brothers comes a couple times a month and works side by side with them in the classroom. And so when I first went to them and said, hey, we need to hire our students as interns, they were worried about it, but now that they've been working side by side, they're doing it.
And Lockheed Martin had a girl, if you believe it. They never hired anybody at 18 out of schools, they were always 22. And a girl from O'Malley made a huge pitch to get in there and fight to get to work. She went to work last year, and now they've opened up all of their hiring to 18-year-olds based upon that female's work inside of Lockheed Martin. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's if they get their feet wet, and if they come and say, we set the standard, you need it, you've got a spot, I think that opens up a little more.
So I ran what was known as the Certified Production Technician Program for the Economic Development Council for 5 years. It was kind of the other part of what they did here, right? We put people into it certified in the government industry for the Economic Development Council. The need here far surpasses what the workforce that we have available. I've actually worked with the Astronaut Memorial Foundation on getting a program. I was the head of all school boards 2 years ago throughout the entire state. It was known as the Advocacy Chair. All of those other school districts are going to start bringing kids here twice a year so that they can start interviewing for jobs out here. Because even if we took all of the kids in tech schools and put them to jobs that are needed right now, we still wouldn't even fill what's happening. And the amount of need is tremendous. We're getting ready to launch to Mars within the next decade. And then we're going to be colonized. All of that happens out of here. So we are the only county, according to the Florida Chamber of Commerce, that will not ever see a recession if we hit it, because we have the industry we have, which is incredible. All 66 of the counties.
And just last quick follow-up, is there something in the works to entice us to start this communication? Has that brainstorming gone on yet to?
You mean communicate to parents and all that stuff?
No, to the companies, the corporate, to get that cycle started, because you said that the interest is there for the need.
We have,
Is that one person?
we have the programs, we have them ready. It's just in a process of exactly like the 18-year-old going to work for them, then having, so Lockheed Martin was just on a panel for the chamber the other day. So that is, yes, it is happening. The subprimes are where we need to be in the position.
And we have some very specific examples of what that looks like L3 Harris partnered with us, and they had jobs just for our graduates. Like we targeted them specifically to specific programs, specific schools. They had a hiring event, and their hiring managers were filling in gaps. And we did a ceremony, hiring event, signing event. So there are little pockets of greatness in specific areas, but there's absolutely more we can do to help our business partners like really hone in, like these are your employees. So, yeah.
I don't know
Great
if
question.
Mr. McInnes touched on it, but every one of the students that finish the program have jobs in the industry when they get done, making anywhere from $40,000 to, I believe the girls started, close to $60,000. So,
Actually, the contribution from those big companies are benefiting from your students.
We do. Step up. Yeah.
Well, you're right, and at first they wouldn't, but they would come take a picture with our kids, but they're starting to step.
I just wanted to ask real quick, are all the classes, do they count as the arts credit that the students see for high school, or is it just some of the classes
So
that count as
actually-
arts credit?
So great question. Just this year, legislation was passed where if a student takes a CTE class, it satisfies that requirement for performing fine arts speech debate. It's all in that, so that meets the graduation
Is
requirement.
that on the chart that you showed?
I don't think
No,
so.
Okay,
it's not.
that's something separate. Okay.
So that was huge, like, for kids that were interested in band or chorus, that was great.
We led the effort 4 years ago to make ROTC a career pathway. So that across the state, we went to bar, we worked internally, and got to the state legislature, same type of thing. Kids that have taken ROTC had to be pulled out from that and all those other things because it was not considered a career pathway. And it is actually one of the largest career pathways.
This is kind of an aside, but back to something you mentioned, but if you do get either both the programs within the schools and or the students themselves creating entrepreneurship opportunities afterwards, I would highly recommend, just as a parent and someone who runs a booster and whatever, we as parents would want to utilize those services, but we would know who they are.
Right.
So I would encourage some way that we could know publicly, like, who are these kids who are doing this, or like I heard sublimation, like, oh, well, hey, if we're a booster club and we have sublimation needs, why wouldn't we want to pay the school to do it? We absolutely would versus outsourcing it to some other business.
So just so everybody knows, it works like this. Right now, they have entrepreneurship here, school here. Kids can learn how to create that business, and then whatever career and technical program or whatever they do, they should be able to then create. The problem is the kids don't know how to get from A to Z, and that's up to us. But if they have it to where I'm in school, we all know when they go home, they start thinking about their moms, their girlfriends, and whatever it is, right? And the thing is, though, is that if I'm here at school, and I know, at the end of the day, if I can go to work right here, it would be very good. And then we can have those companies come in and then become the enterprise zone. That's what we're looking to do. And then have the kids tie up with ABC Marina that would then have those integrated work around the kids working constantly. Does that make sense?
So we have been embedding entrepreneurship more. We've fortunately been the recipient of an entrepreneurship grant for the past 3 years and waiting on our fourth win. But the students got a big t-shirt machine here on campus. And so we partnered with Junior Achievement to come in and teach them different entrepreneurial skills. And the kids are able to make and sell those shirts here based on the information that they learned from our partners. So.
Getting back to what you said, yes, once this goes past, the communication system should be the like, hey, these are the businesses that are available from students in Lincoln, and you can go take advantage of that. They can all have it. There's no reason why you couldn't have your alignment done and your oil change done right there. There's a no-brainer right there, and it would be at a discount, so I think that would be good.
I mean, something as simple as the t-shirts. I mean, every sports team and every booster club, how many millions of t-shirts are printed in this county a year for that kind of stuff? Why wouldn't it go back to the students for that opportunity?
Who's part of the PTO in here? Okay. So I want to let you know the general counsel and I are in the process of trademarking all of the logos. The reason is that if you go to Target right now, all of the logos, they're printing and there's a discount. When I was a teacher at Staples High School, the local booster club trademarked their logo and then sued Walmart and Target and won. So what we're going to do is we're going to trademark them and we're going to allow our booster clubs to enter into a portion of the share of those things from those organizations. They shouldn't be able to print those t-shirts at $15 overseas, put them for sale, and then kill our budget that we have for sales of t-shirts. So that's happening right now. We should have the trademarks and stuff in that commission. Any other questions? Yes, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I hope that you saw today's clarity, the work of the individuals here, the principal and everybody else, and the communication staff. They've been doing this for 7 years, and it's just now starting to tip the point where people are starting to understand it. It's difficult, right? So I want to say thank you to all of them. If you ever need anything, just let me know. Okay? Thank you.
All right, we're going to be moving right along. Our next presenter is none other than Miss Susan Suhan. She is our assistant superintendent, and she also is director of facilities. And I have a little facilities update for you today.
Thank you. Can you give me the
Clicker.
She was the most loved individual in our entire district. I'm not lying about that.
Well, that one is.
She is lovely.
Good morning, everybody. So, thanks for allowing me some time to tell you a little bit about facilities. I was working on this presentation, I realized I could probably talk for 2/3 of the day about facility stuff, like there's a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to give you kind of the overview of facilities and talk about a bunch of different subjects, and then if you guys want me to come back and get deep dive into any particular topic, I will happily do that, but I didn't want to set you up for like a 2-hour tour of facilities. But I do want to say, where's my congregation department? Where'd you go? Do that. So we hire folks from her programs in facilities. We need HVAC mechanics, and she cranks out some HVAC mechanics. We hire them, and they spend about a year with us, and then they go make $1 zillion with a private company that we also pay money to do work in our schools. So it's really good for the kids, and we give them great experience, and we love having them because the folks have done a great job training them. So it really is a good pipeline, and we benefit from it here at BPS as well. So let's see if I can operate this and a microphone at the same time. Ooh, I can. Okay, so one of the things I'd like to start off with is how big are we? Like, everybody knows their school, but they don't have a perspective on how huge BPS really is in terms of our facility needs, right? So we are the 50th largest school district in the country, and that number floats around a little bit here and there. 11th largest in Florida. We serve about 63,000 students, and these are relatively recent numbers. We've got about 16,000 kids that are not in our schools. They're private schools, homeschool. Hard to kind of know that number, but it's, pulling from some different sources, that's not what we think it is. And about 9,600 students in charter schools. And this couple little stats here. We are one of Brevard's largest employers. Sometimes I think we're the largest, sometimes we're second. But generally speaking, we are a huge contributor to the economy of Brevard County by virtue of our payroll and then by virtue of the money we spend and invest in facilities as well. We also serve more students than the population of every city except Melbourne County. So we are really big, to put us in perspective. We have 84 schools, 2 alternative learning centers, 1 seventh-day school, and 3 adult ed locations, over 4,000 classrooms, over 100 facilities. We have about 13 million square feet, and I did the math on this a while back. That's equivalent to about 5,000 homes. So on any given day, the air conditioning's broke, the plumbing's broke, the something's broke, the roof is leaking, the whatever is broke. And when it's at your school, it's like, oh my gosh, why can't they do something about this? Why is this happening? But when you think about it, we're the size of the city. So something is always going to be broken, and we're always going to be fixing it. So it helps you kind of understand that it can take a little bit to address all of our facilities throughout the district. We did a facility assessment a few years ago. We have over $2 million in value. So we have a lot of value. You all as taxpayers in Brevard County have invested a lot in your public school system. Okay? But it's been over a long period of time. So a lot of our schools are aging. You're in an aging school. Many of you represent aging schools. It's not news to you. Keeping up with those schools is tough. Retrofitting those schools is tough. We've had, there are schools that didn't start with air conditioning when they were in their youngster years. So we have had to retrofit and add air conditioning. We have schools that used to be outside schools, now they're inside schools. That's a challenge, right? A lot of different permutations and combinations of facility evolution over the years. So we go from ancient to brand new and all different types of equipment, all different degrees of equipment, and having the staff that is trained that can maintain something that's 30 years old versus something that came in last week. That's a different skill set. Like a lot of our, especially HVAC systems, are changing with the times, and our newer systems have a lot of technology. So we need folks that understand computers versus folks that understand mechanical systems. Really interesting. One of our most valued employees came to us a couple of years ago from educational technology, and he is now kind of running our entire children department because he understands computers. He had to learn air conditioning, but he knew computers, and he's like super, super effective. So a whole different mindset, even from an HR perspective, in managing our facilities.
Real quick before you go on to that slide, I have two really quick questions.
Sure.
What are you basing your current replacement value on? Have you had recent appraisals done by who?
So about 2 years ago, we hired a third party who did a complete facility assessment. And what I mean by that is they walked around and said, there's an air conditioner.
Was it a certified general appraiser?
Oh, no, we didn't have it appraised.
Okay.
But it's,
And average age means nothing. It's the effective age of the building.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
So the average age of a building tells you nothing about where it is in its life cycle. You could have a building that's 100 years old, but has an effective age of 20.
You're absolutely right. This is just to tell you about our facilities in general. I'm not making any major value judgments on this. It's just to kind of give you a sense of what we have.
Well, that's my point, is it doesn't really give you a sense.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So some of our facilities were built more than 50 years ago. Those have required quite a bit of investment in updating. As I show you some of the updating that we have done, it can give you a sense of why we have had to make such investments, because we have had to retrofit an older building with newer air conditioning, or the electrical system might be 30 years old. So that's why it costs $800,000 to upgrade your air conditioner, your electrical system. So yes, you're right.
It's like hard to get ahead of, and it's expensive to find out, but you know.
So anyway, let me move on. I want to talk a little bit about just what we do in facilities. I'm the assistant superintendent for facility services. I have 3 primary directors that work for me that have their areas of responsibility. We have planning and project management. They do major projects, but they also have a very strong planning component where we do enrollment projections and look at trends, and we've been doing a much better job with this over the years. If you're interested in that, we have a student accommodation plan document that we publish every year that has some pretty good statistics in it. Yes, ma'am.
Question, what is your per student budget? Like, I know your overall budget, but what per student is the cost of facilities? And I know we've lost like, 12,000 students over the last couple of years. How is that? I don't know, what is that impact of losing all that money to the charter schools and homeschool students?
So I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a different way. I don't really calculate it that way, but I will get to that because I want to talk about that. We also have an environmental health section, so in code compliance, so when we do anything, we get building permits like everybody else. We have our own building official who is certified building official. He's actually contracted, so he's a third party, and he has more authority than I do. So
I can't override him. So if he says no, the answer is no, even though he works under contract with my department. So our environmental health guys, we do indoor air quality type things. So if we have mold remediation or somebody is saying, hey, my classroom doesn't feel right, it's not right, it's whatever right, we send our team down and we do that type of work. And then we have our maintenance shop, which is pretty busy all the time. Okay, so we have been, over the last 8 years that I've been with the facilities group, working more on data-driven investments. And the data we used to use is, oh my gosh, it's broke, we gotta fix it now. So that was kind of the starting point. And I can give you a long history of why we were there. That's where we were. It was a replace it failure approach. So it breaks, we fix it. We are trying to move towards a more proactive way of doing business. It is an evolution. It is not perfect, and we are not there, but it is where we're going. So we made some pretty good investments in better data, not perfect data, better data. So comprehensive facility assessment project we did about 2.5 years ago. That was the basis of the 2020 sales surtax plan. We actually had a third party come in, do an assessment, and we at least had comparative data among our schools. We knew that this air conditioner was worse than that air conditioner type of thing. And so that's how we built that program. We also did a comprehensive security assessment about the same time, had a third party come in, look at every school, made some recommendations. So we built a security component to the surtax as well that was based on that assessment. We also in-house do a lot of condition assessments, and we've started this over the last 4 to 5 years of things like our playgrounds, our athletic facilities. That's how we got our track projects that you all have probably seen at some of your schools if you represent high schools. So we have good comparative data about this school is worse than this school or better than that school relative to a lot of these smaller assets. We also have tagged all of our assets like HVAC equipment. So when I first got to the district and I said, how many chillers do we have? Nobody really knew the answer to that. How bad are they? Nobody really knew the answer. Today I can give you a report that said we have X number of chillers. These chillers are a year old, these chillers are 10 years old, and we have a really good inventory of our equipment. We have a good work order system that tells us this chiller is a bad boy and we are out there all the time working on that chiller, and this one can hang on for another couple of years. So really pretty good data. Yeah, I'm talking about enrollment projections and trends. We have really super talented planner that works in our office, and she's been doing some analysis of charter schools, and you can see that in our student accommodation plan, and it's showing our charter school trends, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment. But first, I wanted to just give you a little snapshot on funding, and I don't like it too lengthy, but we've got 4 major sources of money for our facilities projects. Rachel's group, the current tech ed, and the adult ed folks, generally speaking, they bring either state grants or appropriations, legislative appropriations to the table. So we do projects for them. The aviation lab that you saw, we in our facilities department did that project, hired the contractor to manage the project, but they bring those resources to the table. We have educational impact fees. So when any new residence is built in Brevard County, there's about a $5,000 educational impact fee, and that goes to Brevard County government. We have an interlocal agreement with them and a committee that includes our municipalities and county staff. That committee makes recommendations on how those monies get spent. That recommendation goes to our school board, and then it goes back across the street to Brevard County for approval. That's a pretty good source of money. As you see, we have a lot of residential building. We've been getting about $6 million a quarter for the last couple of years, so it's pretty substantial. The restriction is you can only use it for new capacity, which we need. So the new buildings that we're doing, classroom addition projects in West Melbourne, South Lake, and Miera High School, we've done kind of new buildings to go with the existing buildings. Those have been funded with educational impact fees. The middle school project that's in Miera, that's being funded with educational impact fees. our next whole school project will likely be in the Palm Bay area. And so we've been able to cash flow those. We have not borrowed any money for those projects as of yet, so that's really yeah, it's really pretty good. It's pretty good as long as that revenue stream continues. So I'm pretty proud of that. And then we have sales surtax enacted initially in 2014, extended in 2020. I think my next slide shows a little bit more detail on that. And then we have local capital. Local capital is, if you look under tax bill, which you guys probably all have this week, it was 1.5 mils. That goes to facility capital. That is our standard local source of money for capital needs. Now, capital needs, and this is one of those topics that I could talk about for a while, that is used for a lot of different things. So it's not just facilities. We buy school buses, we buy technology, we buy vans for our distribution folks. So it's a much wider use of those funding, as well as supporting our debt service from the prior building initiative from prior years. So that has taken more than half. It's down to about a third or so of our capital money. So I'll talk a little bit more detail about that. But these are the sources of money, and they kind of overlap where educational impact fees and capital can be used for the same purposes. To some extent, capital and surtax can be used, but surtax, at least our surtax, we intentionally decided not to use it for new buildings. So there's no new buildings, it's all renewal in our current surtax. Okay, surtax was a game changer. We were in pretty bad shape. Surtax has made a monster difference in the state of our facilities. So, I'm sorry that my back goes up to you all the time. Our sales surtax in both 2014 and 2020 focused on facility renewal, educational technology, and security. Those are the three big buckets. So everything we're doing is in those buckets in some way. The first surtax was heavily focused on air conditioning. We spent in the $200 million range probably for air conditioning improvements around the district, and we needed every single cent of that. We had lots of air conditioning issues. The 2020 surtax broadened a little bit to include things like athletic facilities, like drinking water fountains, playgrounds, renewal of other assets that are important to schools, but at the time weren't as important as doing our air conditioning. The big part of the 2020 surtax focuses on roofs and electrical renewals. So those are kind of our big dollar projects that we're doing. But we're also able to renew a lot of other things that were not previously even included on the radar screen. Security focus expanded in the second surtax. It was a small part of the first surtax. The security wasn't a big issue back then. It was in 2014. It was prior to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and then things changed. So we have invested more in security, and it's a pretty substantial investment. We do have a citizens oversight committee. We meet every other month, and it's open to the public. So if you want an enormous level of detail on how we're spending the money, you're welcome to join us. We get audited twice per year. All of that is on the website. So you can pull up the agenda for the Citizens Oversight Committee. I report on revenue and expenditures. Literally every dime of our surtax folks.
What's the term for the people on that committee?
The term is 2 years. You may repeat a term, so some folks have been on for a while, some are relatively
Do you
new.
have any of the original?
We have one.
Really?
One. Ms. Sullivan, Kay Sullivan.
Oh my gosh, I found her.
Yeah. Well, thank you. She's been a great member. We currently have one opening, so I do want to tell you that. So if you're interested, you can just go to the website and you can print on the banner, you can click and figure out how to apply. It's pretty easy, but we have one opening that hopefully will make a decision on that shortly. Yes, sir.
Hi, Ms. Allen. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you. I'm not seeing anything about solar up here. I know with renewal of older buildings, are we taking that into consideration of how we can lower the school's footprint in the process?
So, sort of, is the answer to that. You're not seeing anything on solar. We did look at it with solar relative to roofing. So we have a lot of roof projects, did not find the ROI, and in fact felt like there was some risk with solar on our roofs. We got enough problems with our roofs. So we are not doing solar at this point. We are doing a really big investment, probably about $8 million over 6 years, maybe a little bit more in LED lighting. That, to all of us, felt like the biggest ROI and the biggest impact in the classroom. So that was kind of the intentional energy savings decision. This is another topic that I can talk about for another hour. We recently won an energy class prize for a proposal that we sent in about 6 months ago or so, and we wanted to do some specific energy improvements at 3 of our schools, Endeavor, Stone, and Madison, and we did that proposal based on some retro commissioning work we did to kind of define what we would do. So, short answer, we are looking at all of that. And a much longer answer will tell you a lot more detail, but it's on the radar. Okay, so let's see. Things that keep me awake at night. Now I'll get into the charter question. So you probably can't really see this slide too well, but back in 2009, 2010, about 4% of our kids were charter kids. So that's fine. And then time goes on, and you can see a pretty steady and consistent increase in the percentage of kids in the district attending charter schools. And it's a two-edged sword. Like most of our charter schools are high-quality charter schools, they do a good job. If all of those children suddenly said, hey, we're going to come back to Brevard, I've got nowhere for them all to sit. Because it's just geographically missing.
Are you contemplating you're going to lose more to step up for private schools?
So we're looking at that. And I think the answer is yes, but that's also drawing kids out of the charter schools, not just out of BPS. So it's rearranging the vectors a little bit. So the reason this has become really significant in my world over the last couple of years is the legislation surrounding how we share money has changed. So most recent legislation this last session now requires us to share the capital revenues. That 1.5 mils that's on the tax bill, part of that's going to charter schools. It's a two-edged sword, but the part of that's going to charter schools. The 2020 sales surtax, part of that is going to charter schools, and it has been based on enrollment. Now, this legislative session, the calculation methodology changed. And so what used to be about 11.6% of the sales tax revenue going to charter schools suddenly jumped up to 13.5%. Now, fortunately, when I did the projections for the revenue, I was really conservative because I was worried about this. And so the program is stable, but it is a fair amount of money that goes to our charter schools. And, I think you can argue both sides of whether that's good or bad, but it is what it is for me. I just have to deal with the fact that there is less revenue than we originally had hoped to acquire. So do we have another question?
Yeah, so just a couple of things about charters. What is the district doing about buses? Traditionally, charter schools, parents are required to do their own transportation. I know the district is praising that they're going to be staffing bus routes by the end of this, well, they should have already. So in that appraisal, we're actively taking away the jobs of the bus drivers. As time goes on, bus drivers are going to have less routes because parents are going to be required to transport. Unless, of course, we go back to corridor busing. The other thing is, when it comes to the funding of charter schools, you've seen a jump. We're going to continue to see a jump. The issue I have, and lots of people have, is that the funding goes to them without the accountability. So I would like to see the district start requiring certain things because they're not beholden to you. They get the money, but they don't have to follow the same rules. And so I would like to see the district start to change that. Because I'm not against charter schools, but not at the expense of our truly public institutions.
So I believe that pretty much every BPS person would agree with you, but we have no control over that. Because the legislature controls the degree of oversight from either the district or from the state. And even with our surtax, we do have a citizens oversight committee. They have no authority. Now, we check to see, are they setting it in accordance with state law, which generally speaking they are. They can't use it for personnel expenses, but they use it for buildings and buses and stuff. And, it's okay. If we ever ran into a situation where they were not spending it in accordance with state law, we do have the right to call for an audit and follow up that way. But we have very limited oversight, we agree, and it's not within our control to increase that oversight. Yep. So anyway, that's slide one. Slide two, which I know you can't read, but this is one of the data analysis points that my friend Karen in planning was working on. So the first graph shows the charter school by grade in 14-15. And this is a horrible graph for showing you this way. But what's interesting about this is the bottom, like kindergarten is around 10%. And in that year, the charter school enrollment was about, 8, 9, 10%, somewhere in there. Okay? So what is scaring me is that this number down here keeps getting bigger. So that the charter schools are beating us in the lower grades. And most of you know, your kids and your parents don't want to change schools. So for capturing students at the charter level down here, they tend to stay in charters. And there's other graphs that show this as well. But in 22-23, that number at the bottom, and I can no longer get my pointer to work, is up in like the 19-something%. So for me, I'm expecting the charter number as time goes on to continue to grow as a percentage. Now, the offsetting of that is the whole district is growing. Like there are kids coming in, but you also have the scholarship group and the private school group. So private schools may be expanding as well, homeschool expanding because they are able to receive revenue from these other programs. So the whole educational marketplace is really wonky. Like that's the only way I can tell you is we're trying to figure it out too. It's just, and it's a little bit of chasing the tail because the legislature tends to change the rules every year. So we gotta keep on top of it and try to adjust and recognize that we are in a competitive environment. So it is important that we compete well, both from an educational point of view and from a facility point of view. So that's what keeps me up at night. Now, this is the fun part where I get to brag on what we've done. So I got a bunch more slides that are all pictures of the cool stuff that we've done that I want to show you. So these are some playgrounds. We have a pretty good investment plan going in renewing our playgrounds. So if your playground at your school is condemned, chances are you got a new playground. But what I really like about this, to talk about sustainability, we are going to this, it's called soft surface instead of mulch. And the custodians don't have to rake it. Like it's there. It's pretty cool. It's a certified, and I don't know the certification, but it is a fall protection surface. So it's better than mulch. It's safer than mulch because if you don't, break your mulch like you're supposed to, it can be dangerous for kids falling off the playground equipment. So much lower maintenance, and if something happens, we pick up a tile, we put a new tile down. It's pretty easy.
Supposed to be a 30-year.
Yeah, it's like long lifespan. So we really love this stuff, and it's expensive, but we feel like the return on investment is really good, and it helps the schools lower the demand on the custodial staff so they can do other things. So we love this, and we're really proud of this program. Doing some roof repairs. There's a couple of pictures from Imperial and Southlake. The canopy you can see. We did about 5 of these projects at schools that all look like this, but these canopies are like rusting in place, and we want to come in and certainly preserve the structural integrity, but also improve the curb appeal. A lot of electrical projects that I guess you can't see from there. Tracks, we are on our last 2 tracks. We'll be doing Titusville High School starting soon and Palm Bay High School starting hopefully in the spring. And we'll be not only redoing the track, but also modernizing the track. Now this is I could probably do a mini series on our track projects because it was unbelievable what we've done. I think at O'Galley, if I'm not mistaken, this was the school that had a track under the track. So we're starting to build and resurface, and the guys are like, oh, there's another set of striking down there. The most common problem was tracks were supposed to be sloped in. Several of our tracks were sloped out. So Palm Bay's in my latest challenge, so that Palm Bay's in the situation. Tracks were sloped out. And on Palm Bay's side, if you've been to their stadium, the outside curb on the home side has got this like drainage swale with concrete next to it. And right next to that is a portable with an air conditioning unit that is sticking out of the track and next to a stadium. So we really can't, you can't like start from the outside and go in because we've got the turf on the inside. And so we have to start from the inside and go out, which creates all sorts of problems on the outside. And now we're redoing sidewalks and redoing fencing. So these projects have just been like this incredible show of scope creep because you think you're doing this much work, and as you get into it, it becomes this much work. But they're all done right, and they're all going to be very cool. And I'm really proud of the tracks that we've done for our county. Yes?
How long does it take to start to finish for these tracks?
So
the problem's hard.
So the construction takes a couple of months, like 3 to 5 months kind of time frame. But a lot of times we work with the schools, so some of them with graduations and for football season or whatever season. So it's not always a straight path. It might be contract and then nothing happens for 6 months because the school's got stuff going on.
Right, because you said spring for Palm Bay.
Right.
Graduation.
Right, so the Palm Bay, the schedule for Palm Bay is literally the contractors going, see ya the day before graduation. Like that is literally the way the schedule is written. So yeah, I will probably be there. We did a big project at Space Coast. They had a structural integrity issue with their visitor side bleachers. And we ended up replacing their bleachers like in its entirety. We were fortunate in this that we sort of discovered this about the same time as we were redoing the track. So we kind of moved those projects together. We were able to get that done from the school. But in that case, the graduation had to move. So it was a mess. It was a mess. We did modern classrooms, and I don't have good pictures of the outside modern classrooms. This is all the technology stuff, and Dan in the back, Dan still in the background, he knows what all this is, I do not. But we're providing the technology for our schools and equipping them for future technology, and that's kind of a big focus in our surtax program as well as capital. Our security project, you've probably seen a lot of our security projects. If you guys have gone to our schools, you no longer can just kind of go in the door and go, hey, hello, it's me. You have to say, hi, it's me, and push the button. So we're also doing front entry kind of rearrangements, so you can't just walk into your school. A lot of other security stuff going on behind the scenes as well. Science lab renewal, big push to middle school science labs. These were a combination of surtax and capital funds. I wish you could see these pictures better because it's really cool the work that we've done. It's very, very different.
It's one of those Hoopers, because Hoopers looks really good right now.
Oh,
Hoopers,
yes.
junior high.
One of Super.
Yes,
Yeah, thanks.
very impressive.
Yep. So this is a picture of stone before, and this is like, what kid or parent would want to go to this? Like, this is not inspiring great work in science, right? This is like huge difference. So, Hoover probably wasn't quite so dramatic.
It was, yes, it was.
Yes. Some of them are pretty dramatic. Chilled water line replacement, this is one of our HVAC leaking, it becomes a big problem. So it's one of our HVAC projects. Intercom is actually part of our security suite, and we're marching through every school doing intercom upgrades. Because we have 84 schools, it takes a while. You asked about schedule. And again, if you're school focused, like, why can't these facilities people get to my staff? And if you think about trying to do this 84 times, even if we could do it, our contractors can't. We can't get the contractors with enough depth to do these projects as fast as we want to do them. So it's a real balance between our staff capacity, the marketplace staff capacity, and our cash flow to kind of get this stuff all set. Let's see. These are some classroom modification pictures. We're doing some flooring and cabinetry. This is Palm Bay Elementary, Harbor City Elementary. We did some furniture there. And this is not, unusual to see in our district. So this is up in Madison, Titusville. We did a reading room project for them. I think Rachel might have even been a CTE project, if I'm not mistaken. The reading room in Madison. I don't remember. But anyway, it was really cool, nice transition from the school. And then these are older pictures that I wanted to show you because this was the biggest mess I've ever seen in my career. In Saturn, we started out Saturn restroom, Saturn sewer. You walk down the halls of Saturn, like the floor was kind of blackling. It was blackling because the sewer system was not working. So this is a bathroom. We did this project in the summer. So kids were there in May and the kids were there in August. And walking in the bathroom in July going, hey guys, you're gonna make it? Like, we made it. It was totally amazing. This is a before picture of the bathroom. This is an after picture, a lot better. This is a hallway at Saturn Elementary, like in the summertime. We have literally we're down in the dirt, a big hole. But they put it back. I was just there the other day, and it looks awesome. Palm Bay High School tennis courts, another example of like our neglected and athletic facilities. And back when we didn't have enough resources, all we could do was air conditioning. That's kind of what suffered. So we've got this project done, working with the county athletic director to kind of do our next round of capital improvements, and tennis is going to be on the list, I hope. And I want to touch briefly on the grounds. And you guys laugh, but we actually use both of these methods. I made a tactical error. This is several years ago. I was presenting to our school board at the time. Stina Deskovich was on the board, and I was presenting about our grounds maintenance. And I had in fact that picture on one of my slides because I was sort of tongue-in-cheek, like, well, I guess we use goats. And Ms. Deskovich said, oh my gosh, we're going to use goats. And I said, no, we're not going to use goats. And she said, oh my gosh, we're going to use goats. And I said, no, we're not going to use goats. And she said, oh my gosh, we're going to use goats. And well, we ended up using goats. So the Imperial Estates had a couple of goats there for a while. It was very cool. There's actually a contractor, I think it's Vendor Ruminant is the name of the contractor. And this guy shows up, and I am not making this up. He shows up in his motorhome, and he's got a trailer full of goats, and he unleashes the goats, and they go hang out. This is a very steep slope retentionary, which is a good use of goats. There's some specs on where you can and cannot, you should not use goats. But this particular place, I learned a lot about this. They're not for fine work. They're for, clean up the pond that's at a very significant slope. And they did a great job, and, we took some shots, shots meaning pictures, I'm sorry. Some photos. And we did these goats. Now, the other side of the spectrum is we also have some robotic mowers. We have one at Capeview, and I think there's like 3 more around the district, I forget where they all are. And these are kind of, you plug them in, and they go, and they work pretty well.
Can we buy those for our schools or fund them through PTO?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. They also have specific applications, and the technology is evolving. So back when we started, it was kind of rough. It's a little more refined. So yeah, we would work with you guys on something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But just in general, I do want to tell you about grounds maintenance. This is going to be probably one of my most important budget asks coming up in the next cycle for the school board budget. That is an operating expense, it's not a capital expense, and it's people dependent, it's an issue, it's contractor dependent. We started with all people, we're now sort of part people, part contracted, probably going to go more contracted just because we cannot keep those positions staffed, and we're not doing a great job at that. Yes, ma'am.
My question was regarding that, driving by some schools, like my childhood, getting a lot more states. I would notice that sometimes I go by and it'd be like really high, waist high, right in front of school, like the Arlen and areas. And I didn't know, was that a supplier's name?
It was an intentionally misfortunate decision way back when. So the schools used to have their own, they were responsible for maintenance, and they had their own mowing equipment, and they did it. When we had a big budget crunch, somebody did some calculations that thought it would be a good idea to centralize mowing, and maybe it was a good idea. It saved money, but it took away resources, and we never really staffed it appropriately. And we haven't got back to where it was appropriately staffed and funded, but it is compounded by the fact that we can't get people even for the jobs we have budgeted, and compounded by the fact that contractors have the same issue, because those guys all have to be JLA badged, and sometimes the mowing contractors don't have a preponderance of JLA badgeable employees. So, what are you saying? So, right now, I've got a contract out for bid for mowing services countywide. We've got the schools in like 12 chunks of 12, so they're kind of manageable, and contractors can bid on all of them, some of them, what have you. But I've also had some experience putting all my eggs in that basket, and that can go badly too. So I'm kind of a proponent of a little bit of both with a little bit more resources. So you'll be hearing more from me on that in front of the board coming out, because I agree if we come that job. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, just a couple things. So first of all, thank you, because we had a sewer problem in our school yesterday, and we had work throughout the night, and the problem resolved. They brought porta potties this morning, but I just got a text at 10:30 that everything's filled, so thank you.
You must be in the
I haven't been. Second, based on this condition assessment on the playgrounds, it's not where you made the decisions for us to not be able to use our swings, because our swings have not been usable for over a year, and PTO has actual petition to pay for this, but we've been told that we cannot. We were going to buy new swings and replace them. They have literally, assessment's done, roll it up, leave it there, kids, watch it, don't touch it.
Well, it sounds like I'm going to need to spend a little more time on the Atlantic issues when I get back today.
And our other issues, we have a lot of fire ants on our grass, and we use our field for run clubs in the morning.
Okay.
And we have a big truckathon, which is our biggest fundraiser coming up, and we would like to have the grass mowed and the ants taken care of. We have a lot of issues there.
That's usually doable. Your head custodian should be on top of that with my folks. So before we leave, I want to get your name and the dates of all that, so I can just check on the back end.
Can we just get like 50 goats per school? And then we can just give them name tags, and you can have mowing in the morning and goat.
So the goats are still haunting me, thank you.
You're the one that's all picture.
I know. Yeah, they're valuable.
They're definitely valuable.
I want to thank you as well. Our school review, our elementary looks so much better since we started 3 years ago, and that was one of my contentions was the awnings, the rusted out awnings. Something else though with the grass, I asked Dr. Rendell about it, and he said that Indian River County, when he was down there, they had the contractors come after school hours. So they didn't have to have these employees badged and whatnot. Because our grass is very long too, and we have ant hills and, wasp nests and all that. So I talked to the principal, and it's kind of out of her hands. She tries to get it scheduled, but then when they're scheduled to come, it could be a rainy day. So when they're on the back
it's a mess.
So,
We know we need to do better.
yeah,
Like,
so maybe after school, is that something you guys are considering?
Well, not really, because in most of your schools, there is no after school. Like you have, regard aftercare, we have students on campus for athletics, for clubs, like, there are kids on campus all the time, and we can't really predict who does or doesn't have it. So our contracts require them to be batched.
Even on the weekend? So it can come like on the weekend?
So on weekends, they have to be supervised, so they're not badged or supervised, so that means you gotta essentially leave them. And if somebody's going there, you might be on the rover.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a little sticky.
Because my husband and I volunteered to come do it for them, and obviously we
Okay.
know how it is, but we said, "Well, come and do it," you know.
That's a whole nother.
I just use like, if the Atlantic has a parent who owns a company and they're already approved and everything, can they not come in and do it? Like,
They're approved to mow,
yeah, they have a company and they run through the Broward County City.
so they have to bid on it. And so their choice is bid or free. They can't do discount.
They could do free,
They can do free, they can't do cheaper, because then it's sort of compete, like it's an unfair competition. So if you have those circumstances, there's a lot of rules around them, and so it's really important that like the principal calls me, we get procurement and legal, and just make sure we do it right, but there's lots of rules around volunteering to do that stuff. So it stems from if somebody gets hurt, or if somebody's not badged, or all that stuff. Yeah, so I know it sounds silly, but it's messy. Okay, so almost done. So, there's a lot of research around the fact that facilities really matter. And this is something that I've been working with our team because we need a bit of a culture shift in our role too, because facilities really matter. You know, we have to see ourselves as part of the educational team. The teachers, principals, administrators, they cannot do their job if we don't do our job well. All of you, is what you said about mowing, like that is really important in terms of even marketing and branding our schools. We don't want our schools to be branded as a school with the very kindergarten kid in the grass. Like that is not okay. So we really have to think about ourselves and the role that we play in educating our kids, which is super important. And there's some research around this, and I have some slides that have lots of quotes and stuff, but I really have a more important quote that I'll show you. Okay? So this is the basketball court is stone. And on the left is the before, and on the right is after. Like, this is embarrassing. As a facilities person, to me, we shouldn't have this. I recently found out through assessing that we have this a lot, and I've got a little capital project that started, that we're going to try to do this, 84 times as we need to, but anyway, this is stone. So, before and after, and this is the email I got from the principal. And the highlight quote says, I truly believe it has changed the student culture in just one day. Nice facilities are truly beneficial to student learning experience and success. And I share this with my entire team because this is actually how we have to think every single day in facilities. This work that we do in facilities absolutely matters. And we can't fix everything all at once, but we've got to have the right mindset around what we do in facilities and how important it is to education. So, that concludes my presentation. I'm sorry, I've stood between you and lunch. I hope I didn't go too long. Oh, look at that, 1:58. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We do have a few questions, and then right after, I do have a couple door prizes that we can do really quickly.
And I think I'm not saying anything to anyone here, but just also a reminder that kids take their self-worth from what they think people value in them. And so when they see facilities that are decrepit and whatever, they think that's all they deserve.
You are absolutely right. So, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. That was very educational for me, and I really appreciate it. However, I have a question regarding the technology part. Have you been looking into putting the smart boards and the e-boards into the classrooms and the schools, at least in the core classes for the educational purposes for our students?
So yes, we have a project that is ongoing to put smart boards in our classrooms, and I'm going to say a number, but it might be wrong. I think he's done about 900 of them, but he's on the same issue that I have. Like, he can't do all of them all at once, and he's got to put backbone technology into the schools sometimes before the smart boards go in. And we've got lots of smart boards going in and lots more planned. The other consideration is the school faculty have to be ready, students have to be ready for that. So you have to be cautious about dropping technology on folks that are not ready. So like if you give me a new computer, I gotta really think about whether I'm skilled enough to use it. And it's kind of the same thing in schools. We gotta make sure that folks are ready for the level of technology that they are receiving. And so our tech folks are cognizant of that. So yes is the short answer to your question.
This is just a piggyback. I can attest to that, having been in school with people who bought us all technology, and everyone was like, why do you have a smart board? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they're wasting the money because nobody used it, and it was just sitting there. Or they were missing markers, like sad things. People took the markers, and then we couldn't use the smart board. So, just so you know. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I just wanted to go ahead and offer my volunteer status to help me find a goat farmer. If you need help with that.
Thank you so much.
I can help with the goats too.
So I appreciate, did you have another question? Okay, I appreciate the time you guys this morning. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, like if you want me to come back and talk about any of this in depth, I'm happy to do so. Just wanted to